okay, this guy knows something. I thought that crypto was a scam for my entire life.
The fact that I built this crazy network was because I was just constantly there. I always thought I would love to reconnect with Turkey when I'm old enough.
And it happened quickly. It happens just in a week or something.
Provide value and help people in Turkey, which is the most important thing. Yeah.
This is just crazy. We have a bunch of people from Turkey.
Yeah.
Why? We don't know.
Yeah. Group and learning how to growth hack and automate things. And then anyway, so it was actually Vin who put me in touch with the investor guy. And so I came from growth hacking circles to meet the investor guy. To be honest, I didn't have to learn about the tech too much because I just had to he was just another client in terms of I just have to learn what is his background, what is his goals, what's his inspirations, what's he achieved, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
What has he done in the media before? And then we just had to put it into a great pitch because we already had the great relationships with the editors and the journalists anyway. So I didn't have to learn too much about the tech just for him. But then obviously over the period of okay, now we've done our work for him, we're getting real clients on board. That was obviously a big upgrade in terms of what we had to learn. But I mean, to be honest, it's just reading YouTube. YouTube was amazing and still is. I learned so much from YouTube.
Who was your favorite content creator back then on YouTube? Who really made you be okay, this guy knows something?
I mean, I used to watch Ian Bellino all the time. I mean, but I know he wasn't the smartest tool in the box, so to speak, but he was one of the biggest influencers. He had this 100x spreadsheet. I don't know if you remember that. But yeah, he had this 100x spreadsheet, and every one he put in the spreadsheet would do so well, and then that got crazy, and then he had the SEC after him in the end. I know him now, so it's quite funny. He's got Token Metrics, his great company. So I was watching a lot of him back then. I was still watching a good friend of mine now, even on tech. Proper OG, KOL, who I'm very good friends with these days. But yeah, nowadays, obviously YouTube's come on so far. I think the content now, Elio Trades is doing great stuff.
I remember when I was starting and my journey started not that far ago. It's around 3 years ago. But I was just living in the office. I worked for Woo Network back then, and I was coming to the office 8 a.m. in the morning and leaving the office 11 p.m., 12 p.m. every day because you were doing the work. And then I was researching, and then I was reading, and I was Binance Academy, all the YouTubers, Twitter, everything. I was just getting the information from all the corners just to understand something.
Yeah.
That came from finance to Web3 finance, and it was already, something way different for me. I thought that crypto was a scam for my entire life. I was in the university, I was talking to teachers, and it was always about crypto, I don't know. And then when I actually met the guy who put me to crypto, I was okay, now I see the expertise you have. I hear how confident you are about what you're talking. And I remember this phrase that he told me, that traditional finance is based on people's belief in government, and crypto is based of people not believing to government.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. It explains it in a very, very easy way. And since you understand that the mechanics in both of the markets are very similar, you can just draw the parallels and make it all work. So, but this beginning, it's always exciting to learn how people were starting because, I spent a lot of time researching myself, and I see that most of the people who are right now very, very big in the industry, at the beginning, they were grinding. They were just going book after book, tweet after tweet, video after video, just getting everything, squeezing this information in just to learn as much as possible.
I mean, so one of the main things that I did was I literally, as soon as I got into it, well, for one reason or another, I broke up with my girlfriend. I don't know if it was if it was it wasn't because of crypto, it was just the end of that relationship. And so I left London pretty much the same time. And then I wanted to quit my agency job anyway, because I had this, big dream of traveling the world and meeting people, new cultures. Like I said, I'm very open-minded guy. I want to experience the whole world. I want to see how people live. I want to be able to make friends with people from all different races and places that really interests me. So I mean, I'm from London. It's one of the most multicultural cities in the world. I mean, everyone is from somewhere else. And so yeah, I was okay, well then how about I travel the world, but I do it with intention. So okay, I'll go to Korea Blockchain Week, I'll go to Thailand Blockchain Week, I'll go to New York Blockchain Week at the time, which was the biggest, was where Consensus was. That's moved now to Austin, and now it's moved somewhere else. But anyway, yeah, so then I would just go to Paris Blockchain Week. I would just go everywhere. So I'd be looking, right, where is the next big event? Right, I'm going there.
I'm going there.
So I would just use that. So obviously I'd go to the event, I'd hang out with the crypto people, then I'll probably stick around for 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, check it out, have a good time, and then go to the next place, 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 go to the next place. It was only this January that I actually settled in Dubai for the first time.
For how long have you been traveling like that?
So it was like early 2018, very early, like January.
And since then, you're always on the go?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking about a suitcase, like every conference, everywhere. Like it was a real commitment. Yeah. But at the same time, I was also, I loved crypto blockchain, but I was also like loving seeing the world. And like that is, another part of this, of the fact that I built this crazy network is because I was just, with the influencers and the journalists and the projects was because I was just constantly there, in the conferences. I was at, because like Consensus was at 2019 as a total bear market. There was I think there was only around 2,000 people there or something. It was crap. Do you know what I mean? It was a long time ago. And then also what I did to get like more access was I was doing interviews like this at conferences. And so I remember it's on YouTube. I interviewed CZ back in 2018 or 19. I interviewed like Neo at the time, was a massive project. I was interviewing Roger Ver all the time. I had loads of like big names on just getting to know them. And then I got Neo as a client through that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then from there, Neo was the Chinese Ethereum, as an Ethereum killer. That's what they used to call it. And then because we did a great job with Neo, then obviously they introduced us to the whole of the Asian projects over there, and as the kind of bridge from like Asia to the West. So then we started getting clients in Vietnam, in China, in Japan, Korea, etc. So then we had this like weird. It wasn't supposed to be like that, but then we suddenly had this like loads of Asian clients, which was cool. Good that they trusted us, and that's kind of like how we started to grow the agency. Yeah.
All right, nice. And it's actually like how I say it, you just combine beneficial with something nice because you were traveling, seeing the world, having something nice for you, but also attending all the conferences, getting the network, getting connections, getting the clients signed in, and basically growing you in this sphere. So, it's the best way to do it, actually.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So cool. And let's go with the next part that I wanted to talk to you about. It's actually about Turkey. So can you tell us a little bit why you have that big influence in Turkey, maybe a little bit about your background, and let's just dive into the topic of what blockchain in Turkey is.
Obviously, my dad's from Turkey. My dad's from Istanbul. My mum's from London, so I'm half Turkish in my blood, So, but then, as I said, my dad kind of left home when I was younger. And so it was really a shame because I lost contact with my Turkish family until I was like an adult. That's a long time to like lose, contact with your cousins, and stuff that you used to hang out with when you were a kid. And so I always kind of had this kind of like lost side to me, when I was growing up. Of course, I love England, I love everything that comes with the UK, the culture, the football, the music, things like that, the festivals. But at the same time, I always knew that like this half of me was kind of missing. And so I always thought like, I would love to reconnect with Turkey when I'm like old enough to like do so.
And how you actually did it? Like, what was the point where we're like, all right, click, I need to get back to my roots?
The roots of Istanbul Blockchain Week was 2019. So basically, it's still pretty early in my journey. It's only 2 years in. So it was definitely like a scary moment for me to commit to such a big project. But I saw a report from ING, which is like a Dutch bank, and it said that like Turkey had some of the highest rates of adoption in crypto. And I was shocked, to be honest, because you don't think of Turkey as like a place for emerging technologies or, to be honest, right? You don't. You don't. You think of like maybe Japan, things like that. And so I was like, okay, well, hang on, what's going on here? And then obviously I was a big events guy, right? I was going to all the events. So I was like, cool. So what is the biggest event in Turkey? I did my research and I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's pretty bad. Like, I looked at the lineup, I looked at the kind of KOLs and the speakers, and they were like real bad actors. People knew they were bad actors, scammers. It was all pay to play. Like there was no like emphasis on education. There was no emphasis on like bringing like the real thought leaders from the big projects in. And then obviously because my network was very large at that point, and obviously I've got the kind of Western network as well, which maybe people in Turkey didn't have at the time. And because my agency had been media partner of so many other events globally, I just thought there's a great opportunity here, business opportunity. But secondly, it will enable me to do business in Turkey and like get, like you said, tap back into my roots and like actually like provide value and help people in Turkey, which is the most important thing. And then third, I just thought like with the network that I have, I can definitely pull something out of the bag better than that. And if Turkey does have this much adoption, which as I looked more and more into it clearly did, and it's massively grown since then, my agency wants to help people get into the space without getting burned. The economy in Turkey is really, really bad. Inflation is really high, like more than
exactly. I saw the media rate of lira, and it drops like that. It looks like, DJ said, it looks like the wave in Spotify. It's just like boom, 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 boom.
It's bad. And, we can all sit here as people that, don't live in Turkey and be like, oh, it's great for crypto. But like, honestly, it's not good, for the people in Turkey. I mean, they're really struggling. They can't buy the same goods, that they could at the grocery store anymore. They have to really cut back on like, the things that we take for granted. They're not going to the stores anymore and buying like items for themselves. They're just trying to get the basic stuff.
And it happened quickly. It happens just in a week or something. It just drops and people are already not able to afford the thing that they were able to afford like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. This is just crazy. Yeah. So that's why we see from what I learned from you and from what I learned from my research, that's why we see that high level of crypto adoption in there.
It's one of the main reasons. There's obviously other reasons as well. I mean, Turkey is not part of the Schengen zone, right? It's not part of the EU, even though they tried for a long time, and now they've just said, sod it, we'll just go our own way. And so the youth of Turkey, which is huge, by the way, Turkey has a young population, a digital savvy population, and they don't have much opportunity, to be honest. It's bleak. Like, they can't go to Europe and easily and get a job in visa. The inflation's super bad. No one wants to pay them very highly. And so they can't really invest in themselves. Like there's not that much of options. Like if you saw some of the salaries that people are getting paid there, it's a joke, to be honest. And so what Web3 really like provides them is an opportunity to get out of that grind and to actually, we all know the salaries in Web3 better, but it's not just about salaries. It's also about, potential. Everyone know that crypto is growing, and they can obviously see that it's getting big in Turkey. So if they can become a bit leader or even just get experience in this space, then they can get themselves out of that situation, and they can actually get their earnings above the inflation rate. So they're actually making money and can afford to maybe buy a home one day and things like that. So and then if you like, something I was surprised about was that there's all these blockchain clubs around Turkey in general, like for different universities, and they're all just absolutely slammed with students. Like as in, like there's like probably 100 to 200 at least in every single club, and they pack out every event. Like it doesn't matter what it is, hackathon, ideathon, even just a community meetup, packed with students. Like, and so everyone's there because they all see the potential. They're obviously younger, so they've grown up in the kind of YouTube generation. We all had lockdown as well. Obviously, the whole world did. So they're all learning about crypto and digital assets and cryptocurrencies and yield farming, etc. So they are super inspirational. And then I told you, I think the other day, with the war in Ukraine and Russia, you had like all these like Russian and Ukrainian devs moving into Istanbul.
Exactly. And also, and what I wanted to mention, that from what you just told me about Turkey, it's very, very similar to what we have in CIS, like Eastern Europe, especially CIS countries, because people there are young, very hungry, and very well educated. But the problem is that the government doesn't provide that well for them. And there is actually nothing that you can do in the country. So you either move out, or you go into IT sphere, or you go to Web3. That's why crypto adoption is one of the biggest in Ukraine in the world. And actually, I just see how crazy people are in this market. And that's why I see more and more projects from CIS region and from Turkey actually joining the market right now and making mad things out there, just because people there are very creative, very driven forward, and they actually want to bring something really, really valuable here to make their people, to make themselves actually survive and live better lives, right?
Like, it's funny because obviously I run a marketing agency, so projects come to me and they're like, Erhan, like, we have no idea, but Turkey is our biggest community and we've done no marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I saw like everywhere, every exchange, everything. They'd be like, all right, we have a bunch of people from Turkey. Why? We don't know. And it just, as you said, because, it makes it organically, like a students coming to this events, and same with the people, because people are hungry. People don't know how to save their money with this inflation rate and how to actually survive and how to allow them to buy bread tomorrow as they did it yesterday. And that's why people are just joining Web3.